Hello everyone, it's been a little while since I did my last video, so I thought I would do one today to visually explain to you the Ordinals recursion technique and give you an insight into how these recursive ordinals are pieced together, how it's beneficial, and why it's something we should all be excited about. And I'm going to use a project that caught my eye yesterday as an example called Cirque Le Noir. My French is not very good, so I apologize if any native speakers found that pronunciation terrible. On a side note, this project used a teaser, like a little film, a short film for promotion, which showed this theme park, which happens to be a theme park that's by the harbour in Sydney. So I live quite close to it, called Luna Park. And they put quite a lot of effort into producing this short teaser film. Look, it's not Hollywood, of course, but I think they did a decent job. Unfortunately, the project didn't mint out during public, so it's public phase right now, and there's a lot of FUD going on. I believe, I don't know too much about the project, but I do believe that they came from Solana and made a last-minute decision to launch on Bitcoin because Ordinals are so hot. And it looks like it's backfired, but I don't mind the art. Maybe it'll get some traction. But if you like it, maybe you can check it out. But for today, I'm using their project as an example to explain recursion to you. So I've got here one of their NFTs. It's this dude here. And on Magic Eden, when you view an ordinal that's using recursion, you will see an additional panel on the right hand side that tells you which are the recursive sub modules. That's what they call it. And basically what it means is it will tell you which other inscriptions this inscription, which is the whole thing, calls on. So where does it take content from? And you can see little previews of the pieces that it's using. So you can probably guess that all of these put together make up this final inscription. And we'll have a look at the behind the scenes of how all of this works. And to do that, I'm going to use the ord.io viewer. I find it quite handy because it gives me an option to open this in full screen mode, which I've done so here. And now I can look at the source code behind this particular inscription. So if you are on Google Chrome, you can press Ctrl-U as a shortcut or right click and choose View Page Source, and that will take you to the source here. So I've already put the line wrap on, so it's 3 lines long on my monitor anyway, and it's a very simple piece of code. So it's just HTML. So you've got to start with the HTML, you've got to have a body. And then the first thing that I'm going to show you that it loads a script. So this is a script tag with a source, and the source is referring to /content/ and these alphanumeric characters, which I will tell you right now, that's an inscription ID, and you will see it throughout this particular document. So the Ordinals protocol with the recursion, as long as you follow this syntax of /content/ alphanumeric character, which is the inscription ID, it knows to go and look for the ordinal and fetch whatever it is that's inside that particular inscription and load it into this one. So being a script tag, I would expect the contents of this particular inscription to contain JavaScript. So if we click it and it opens up, you will see that it's a very simple one-line script, and it's a function called draw. So this is going to be used in this inscription a little bit later on. So that's that. And then next it defines a HTML element called canvas and gives it an ID of canvas, and it has an inline CSS style that sets the width, height, etc. And basically it is a 1200 by 1200 area, canvas area. So this here, the whole thing is 1200 by 1200. And then next we see the script called draw, which we saw earlier inside of this inscription that is now pulled into this one. So the draw is being used, and the next part here, if you're familiar with the document object model, it's fetching or it's telling the draw function to use this element called canvas. So get element by ID called canvas, and we saw this element here which had an ID of canvas. So this part is saying draw inside this area, which we established is a 1200 by 1200, draw the following. So what is the following? The following is, as you can see, it's an array of content / inscription. Content, oh, sorry, wrong click. Content / inscription. So one can assume that if we go back to the original thing, that it is about to draw all of these layers. So what we can do is we can double up this one of these ones, which I've already done on my furthest tab, and we will go and change the inscription ID to see what each of these pieces are. So I would assume that this will be the background. So as you can see, so that's the background, and then the next one is probably going to be like the body that's underneath the hat and underneath the suit. So load this inscription up. Yep, and it is the body. And if the collection has like this clothing, if the clothing layer has an option of none, then you would assume that the person would be naked, or like topless at least. And then the next one, we'll see what this one is. It's like the face, what is it called? Makeup. Right, so the first one was called background, then body, makeup, outfit, head, eyes, and mouth. So I would assume these are in order. So if you think about the layers being on top of one another, then the background is the very lowest layer, or the one furthest at the back, if you look at it from this way. And then on top of the background, you place the body, which we saw was the human, this person. Right, you put that on top of the background, then on top of the body you put the, what was it, the makeup, which are the eye makeup and the mouth and the nose, and then followed by it would have to be the clothing next, because the headwear you can see sits on top of the clothing. If it was the other way around, then this part would be hidden. So that's how it's all layered, and then the final outcome is this. So why is this interesting, or why is it important, right? Now it's important and interesting at the same time, because what it allows people to do is to save on the file size. So this final inscription, which is what the person who minted this ends up getting, we saw is just 3 lines long. Instead of writing all of this inside of here, which could potentially be dozens, maybe hundreds of lines long once you add everything in. And the reason why reusing pieces is handy is because in a collection like this one, which I believe has 10,000, there are going to be other ordinals which use this particular perhaps tone, like the skin tone is like this. It's going to use this same background, etc. So as developers, it's very important for us to not reinvent the wheel, right? So you want to be able to reuse as much as possible where it makes sense. And then when it comes to on-chain stuff on Bitcoin, also on Ethereum, anywhere, we don't want to pollute the blockchain with extra bloated code. So this is why recursion is very good. And the other thing it allows anyone to do, right, is to create collections based on pieces that are already out there. So I could create a Cirque Lenoir elementals. Maybe that joke was a bit too soon, but using this body, and I could come up with a what's this one called? An outfit that I like, right? That isn't part of the collection. And this is the beauty in it all, because it allows creativity and people to be very flexible. And I'm not saying that, what I'm not saying is that, what am I trying to convey here? Like, I'm not saying that anything that's newly collected, created rather, out of these existing inscriptions would be worth more than the original, like nothing like that. I mean, that's all subjective. But when it comes to things like what On-Chain Monkey did with the dimensions, they inscribed code that is probably useful to anyone in their own projects. So not necessarily recreating monkey dimensions, but to create that 3D engine, so to produce 3D art. I know that they inscribed a couple of handy libraries. So this is where the recursion makes a lot of sense. But it doesn't stop anyone from creating new collections based on existing art either. And some of you that know me from On-Chain Birds might wonder why I didn't use the On-Chain Monkey dimensions as an example, because I'm a big fan of what they do, obviously. The reason is because their collection is 3D art. So if you load up a dimensions ordinal in Magic Eden, like here, like I've done here, under the recursive sub modules, you only see two. And one of them, I believe, is the whole 3D generative script. So you're not going to get, because they're next level, right? So it's not going to show you pieces, like parts like these. And I felt like for the majority of us, it's easier to understand recursion by looking at these, because you can clearly see that this dude is made up of these pieces, which are all individual, separate inscriptions. So hopefully that all made sense and gives you an understanding of how recursive inscriptions work, perhaps why they might be handy to have. And the Bitcoin cows, for all of you that know On-Chain Birds and the Bitcoin cows family, they are coming soon, and they are also going to be using recursion. So once they drop, I will probably do another video to explain how the cows are put together. But until then, stay safe out there in Twitter world, not Twitter world, in NFT world, and also Twitter world, because that's where a lot of the scams happen. But yeah, make sure you don't get scammed by anyone, and I will see you in another video sometime later on. Bye bye.